So I'm just going to lightly touch you,
Yes.
Natasha, and necessarily I don't have to touch you, but since you're here in person, people like that personal touch. But I do.
Why am I starting to move?
Well, the reason is really scientific. So basically, what happens? Think of your source code, or some people call it your spirit, around you. Okay.
Yes.
And it's arm's length around you. And when I had my second near death, I can see people's spirits. So it's very different than auras. So as I adjust, say, your source code, the hologram that your spirit creates, which is called your body, starts to.
So I want to let people know that I'm not. You're not pushing me in any way.
Oh no, I'm not pushing you in any way.
It's just happening.
No.
My body is starting to move on its own.
Right. So your spirit is literally a projector that creates your body, a hologram. So we're really frequencies. We're not solid objects here.
Right.
And what I do is I get to your source code or the projector, and just like how you adjust the clarity of the object or the movie. So I start to clarify what your spirit sees your physical body as, and then your body doesn't know, say, how to, create your physical form here. So you start to shift. You start to move around. So it's more than just you moving around. It literally is that your frequencies start to shift. And as your frequencies start to shift, your life starts to change from the inside out. So, and this is where radical changes come through. This is where people, can start walking, say, after a session like this. And it only takes a few minutes. This is where, wealth comes in or success comes in. Again, it's from the inside out because you change the internal program. So for you, what you've done, and again, it's an amazing job that you've done, but it's like through sheer physical willpower. So you have that material layer, right, what we call the physical world, but the underlying structure of the material world, or what I call the foundation, nobody really accesses that. Except through the work that I do, which I call exponential intelligence. So what if we could change the foundation or the underlying program, like I do, and I teach people to do this. By the way, it's not just like me. What you do, Natasha, is amazing. It just like explodes what you do. Okay? Just like the way, like I was telling you, like Anthony Robbins, fantastic. He's helped millions of people, but they don't get to the underlying core. So if I can help you change your underlying core, right? And like, for example, for you in a very short time, because you get it at a spirit level, you'll see that your abilities, your success just starts to explode, and just that general sense of well-being that you've always searched for. And no matter what you've done in life, no matter how successful you've been, has never, say, reached that aspect of yourself. So now you'll actually see that space, especially in your chest, that warm, connective feeling that you've never gotten in, say, relationships or, having kids or euphoric experiences or whatever else that you may have done, with, your travels or, I don't know if you've done, like ayahuasca, things like that to, say, expand yourself. It goes way beyond that. Did that make sense to you?
Very much so. And what made the most sense is this whole thing about the underlying program. So as we build on top of the underlying program, but the underlying program is still running the show. Right,
exactly. And that's why it takes long. So for you, and just to give you, say, specifics on what you've done is like, you've seen all the parts that are incongruent, right? You're very intuitive. And then what you do is like you compact it. It's like, well, I'm going to bring that in and hide it deep inside myself. And over the years, again, through sheer willpower, you've compacted it tighter and tighter and tighter. And it settles like right here for you. But it's still, say, exudes, say, all the toxins, all the distortions, and it takes a lot of energy to really keep that tight. Because if you let go, right, that's why people have to, say, motivate themselves or, or psych themselves up to have a great day or whatever. Because if you let go, that tightness just explodes, and then you're back to square one. Does that make sense to you?
Makes total sense.
So what I'm doing for you is like, well, what if you just don't run the programs at all? You don't have to compress it. You don't have to take energy, right? Because it takes a lot of energy to keep that compressed. You always have to be on guard 24/7, even like while you're sleeping.
Or not sleeping.
Or not sleeping, exactly. So, and that's where sometimes people get, say, restless sleep, because they always have to be on guard. But if you remove it, and again, this isn't about moving energy. Energies are very low-level frequencies, or the physical energies. This is more, say, the God particle frequencies, if you want to call it that. You remove it and you just are. This is what happens like with people with addictions. For example, AA, again, fantastic organizations, help millions, but what they do is through sheer willpower, they teach people, say, not to drink, but what happens is that they consciously have to be aware of that, right? They walk into a bar, they smell alcohol, they take one, and they tell me it's like all over with, right? So it takes a lot of, say, internal strength. But what if, like I don't drink, what if you change their program, like I do, because again, it comes from the inside out. You change their program and they have no desire to drink. And this is where they don't need nicotine patches, for example. They don't need anything like that, because the body just does not crave, say, any addictive substances that they might have been addicted to. There we go. How are you feeling, by the way?
Wow.
Pretty, and it's very different than meditation, or I didn't put you
Yes.
into hypnosis and all that. So it's very different than NLP, hypnosis, yoga, all those things, because it's actually the direct opposite, although it might feel the same for you. I bring you into such a present state that you get to see all the shadows that you're not, and you go, oh, let's just get rid of it. And then your true brilliance comes in. You feel your eyes look really, really different.
I feel lighter.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning. I mean, you tend to want to experience things take things in for a bit, and then go forward. Does that make sense to you? So you'll test it out, and then you go, wow, this is the real stuff, and then your life will just like expand. So it's really cool.
Wow. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I feel like a little bit like a drunken sailor. So I'd like to introduce you formally.
Yes.
So you are Mas Sajady.
Yes.
And describe what it is that you do and who you are.
Sure. So through 2 near-death experiences, Natasha, I've learned, or I've been gifted with, say, what people call superhuman abilities to transform people's frequencies. So if you go into quantum physics, they talk about frequencies, like everything is a frequency. So I've been, say, honing my abilities to change people's frequencies. So I see you, and I can adjust you, and then your life changes for the better. So you get, I call it 360 degrees of abundance. So your health, your wealth, your relationships, your spiritual connection, they all transform as I change you. So change your frequency, change your life.
Wow.
And it's very efficient. It's very fast from what I've heard.
So who were you before this?
Who was I? I was a computer programmer. Well, my first near-death was in my early 20s. And I was searching for the answer because, I wanted to know what that one component of, say, complete satisfaction, or who we are, right? Beyond wealth, beyond all that stuff. So I went into the religious, aspects. I studied the religions, and it left me a lot of unanswered questions, right? Because I'm that logical person. It has to, say, equal, the bottom line has to equal out. I'm not going to have like blind faith and go, hey, when you die, then it's all going to work out. That's a lot of faith, by the way, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, so, So the religions didn't work out, and then I thought, well, if I'm really successful, then you'll be happy, because that's that paradigm, right? You make a lot of money, you slave yourself for so long, and then you'll be successful. But nowadays, through my business, I work with a lot of millionaires or even a few billionaires, and Natasha, they have the same issues as anybody else. So money wasn't. Is not that key, right? That emptiness that we're all looking for, that connection. So that first near-death stay really allowed me to understand that, what we think we are, again, I call it the 1% of our physical.
Right.
I separated from my body completely, and I realized that, wow, the grandness, the beauty, the love that we are, all those things that we're looking for is deep within us. So, and I actually felt that, so I know it's there.
And you came to this in your near-death experiences.
Yeah, I realized that. I went through the tunnel of light, and all that is on my website. So that was the first near-death experience. The second near-death experience, it was a drowning accident. At that level, and this is what makes me different, is that people go through the tunnel of light. People, right? You've heard of that. Mm-hmm. There's an introductory layer where you're loved. They say, "I saw my loved ones," and they welcome me. So I went past that, and then I graduated through the tunnel of light. Now you're not supposed to come back. Right. When you graduate, you're supposed to stay there. I got a preview on what's on the other side if done properly. Mm-hmm. So, and at that level, again, there's no time, there's no space. You are anything that you are. The amount of love that you have at that level is 1,000,000 times more than any euphoric experience that you've had. It's just mind-blowing. The completeness that you are. Obviously, you don't need any security because you don't need money. I mean, you are everything. But I went beyond that. In that second near-death, I call it the beautiful blue space, or nowadays, I'm a computer programmer by trade, so I call it the universal database. So. I have access to, say, all the knowledge that ever was, is, and shall be. And
you still have access.
And I still have access, yeah. I live from that space. So I've turned it around. So most people have a human experience they're human and trying to have a spiritual experience, right? I'm more spirit-based,
right?
Okay? And then I have a human experience. So I tap into that potential.
So I have a couple of questions to ask you.
Yep.
I had interviewed a Harvard neuro surgeon who had a near-death experience, and he was totally living in the scientific model, like nothing not happening on the other side, and then he had a near-death experience. Right. And he came back and wrote a book, Proof of Heaven. So anyway, one of the things I asked him was, when you come back in, does it feel like you're kind of come back into something that's a little too tight?
Yes and no. So the reason why I'm different is, or the reason why he's different too, is because although he's more scientific and I can tap into anybody, he wanted, say, proof that there's something there, because of his parents. So if you're groomed, to have this near-death experience, say, it expands you to understanding. So in my situation, you come in really tight, or it feels like burdening here because you can feel the beauty there, and then you feel the heaviness here. So yeah, it feels heavy, but in a very short time, you get to start to understand and master this reality. Right? People who aren't ready for it, they have a near-death, they come here, they feel burdened, and then this is where they have suicidal thoughts. They want to go back. So it depends on how awakened you are as you've had that near-death.
I heard you say that, and I thought that was quite interesting and a little bit startling.
Yes.
But it makes sense, because if you're, if what's here is too heavy, and you know what exists on the other side of it, you might want to purposely go there.
True. Exactly. If you think that there's no solutions, on this side, especially when you see the other side, and you go, gosh, and you're still running from the framework that, you're still running from that 1%, as I said. Even if you've seen the other side, you don't get it still. It's like, and that's why there's like suicide hotlines. Especially, there's the highest rate of suicide, for example, for young kids who've had near death, because they don't get it quite properly, and they want to commit suicide just to cross over. It doesn't help either way, because you're still locked.
Right.
You know,
so a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a website and you do these meta healing, and you do you educate people, you work with people.
Right.
Can people do this on their own?
Yes, and that's what I teach. I'm not say a guru. I'm not a teacher. It's like you come to me, and yes, you know, people problem solve and all that stuff. Yes, I do that, but mostly is like I teach you how to say awaken your own internal potential.
Right.
And that's what it's about. I'm that teacher, I'm that guide, but nobody can ever take you into that space.
Right.
It's between you and your higher self, or you know, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I teach you. There's a lot of people that do awaken. By the way, you know, there's if you go to the website, there's a lot of testimonials. You know, cancers get cured. They start walking. You know, their lives come back together. Whatever it is that we call life, you know, it's been resolved. I don't do any of that. I don't cure anybody. I'm not a doctor, marriage counselor, financial analyst, all that stuff. But what happens is that if you do not awaken your internal healing abilities, and that's what I do for you, no matter what you do, no matter how many surgeries you have, no matter how many doctors you go to, no matter how many success courses you go to, if you don't awaken that internal, you know, self, right, that higher self, you'll never heal yourself, or your life will never shift. Or if it does, it's very slow, right? Or if, like in your case, it has, but you have to compress, and it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
Yeah, so I teach you how to awaken your own, say,
right,
genie, I guess you could call it.
So at some point on your website, it said, once you recognize the true reasons you were created, you will understand the universe within you.
Yes.
And then there's kind of, it seems to me that you said something about, you know, you find out why you're here.
Right.
So what does that actually mean, why you're here? Why are you here?
I'm glad you asked that. So most people go, well, the reason why I'm here is to save the world, save the whales, learn something. It's got nothing to do with anything that we think it is, right? It's not to come up with a great invention. You know, we are all those things at spirit level. You know, the world is solved. There's no pollution. There's nothing like that. So the reason why we're here is to actually understand, say, density. Okay? And I know it sounds kind of weird and it's very unromantic. Okay, but at spirit level, right? You are all that you are, right? So you have to have a point of reference if you think about it. So to create density is our point of reference. So creating human form is a reflection, so to speak, of what we are. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So what happens here, or if you want to look at it at religious terms, is the reason why we're here is to create heaven on earth, to figure out, say, solutions that we can walk here in spirit form without having, say, this thing called the body. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And, you know, that whole concept of you're spiritual, having a human experience.
Yes.
But also, I was having a conversation with someone the other day. You know, we keep wheedling and importuning and begging for this, that, and the other thing from God or whatever. And I said, one day I thought to myself, if there is that God, he must have a headache. You know, it's like all this noise, this cacophony of asking, you know.
Yes.
And then I thought, no, he doesn't have to, he or she or it doesn't have to do anything. It's all here. We just have to tap into it.
Exactly, and that's what I tell people, you know, you're exactly right on, because everything has been given to you already. It's deep within you. You just have to move out all the garbage, you know, from distortions, from, you know, family lineage, you know, your understanding, spiritual DNA, whatever's come through that has distorted who you think you are. And that's literally what I shine you up. You get rid of all the stuff that you're not, and then you get to see all that, well, God has given you, and everything becomes really, say, blessed. And that's that 360 degrees of what people are looking for. You know, you have that internal completeness inside you, then that it shows your external completeness. So your money comes in, you know, your health starts to come in, everything, again, 360 degrees of abundance.
Yeah, and I like that word distortions.
Yes.
Because that really resonates. It's kind of like who we really are at the heart of it is spirit.
Right.
And then in our human experience, distortions occur.
Right. Yeah, and the distortions, I say it's a dumbing down process. Because if we knew who we are at spirit level, we resonate so high, we couldn't create density here. We couldn't understand, say, solidness here. And I don't want to get into all the science because then it gets really dry. But, you know, so our main theme, or the reason why we're here, is to create, say, so much of a higher frequency and still stay in physical form, okay? Which is very different.
Heaven on earth.
Heaven on earth, exactly. But this is very different than what people think. You came here because you did something bad in a previous lifetime. You sinned, God forsaken you. You know, all those things that religious and spirituality and society thinks, it's got nothing to do with that.
It's
we didn't
quite
fall
terrible.
from it. Isn't it though?
It's
like, oh my God.
It's like you start out with all of this kind of, you know, fed to you, and it's like, oh my God, what's the point?
Right, exactly. And it doesn't make sense if you really think about it
doesn't.
logically. This is more of a common sense approach, and it actually works for people. I mean, tens of thousands across the world, they go, oh, I get it. And then they can actually say, understand the brilliance that they are. And that's what that connection with God, if you want to call it that, I call it pure source, is about, right? You actually get to feel that essence here. So,
yeah, what better than that?
Yeah, exactly. Heaven on earth.
So we're going to invite someone else on the set, someone I guess that you brought with you. So I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll bring them in.
Perfect.
Welcome back. My name is Natasha Sherman and I am your host. And my guests today are Mas Sajady. He is a transformational catalyst who opens you up to your limitless self. And my other guest is Debbie Peterson, who is the founder and CEO of Wellness Gala. Welcome. So welcome back, Mas, and welcome, Debbie. I want you, we just have a few minutes, but you have a really important story to share, so tell us.
Okay. When my son was 7, my older son, he got diagnosed with severe Tourette syndrome. My background is corporate marketing, and I did all the traditional medical routes, the therapies, the medicines, anything that I could, and I was basically desperate. Nothing was really helping. And a friend led me to a chiropractor who does energy healing, and very long story short, he cured him completely. My son's about to graduate college next month, actually, so it's been a while. Yeah, and it's great to be past that because I really believe it was a miracle. So from there, I left my job and went to work for the man who cured my son.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wanted to get the word out to everyone about holistic healing benefits and, you know, really create awareness. And from there, I started the Wellness Gala. It's been about 10 years now. And my goal is to really just educate, create awareness on the holistic modalities, the healing benefits, and to let people know they're real, they work, and they work in conjunction with traditional medicine.
Right.
So.
And how often do you hold these galas?
We do several a year. We do about 4 really big ones, and by big I mean like 300 people or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
And one of the things you said to me was at the galas, you get not only to see people who are, you know, talk to people who are doing alternate modalities, but included in your entry fee, you are fed, you have music, and you get to experience whatever modalities you want to check out.
Yes, I think that's what really makes it a little bit different. We're in an upscale setting, usually a country club or what have you. And I think what is fun about it is that you can come in and you can experience as many of those practitioners as you'd like all day long, and they're included. And then we usually have a fabulous keynote. Like yesterday, we did our first autoimmune, and Mas was our keynote.
Quite a revealing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Here's the thing: a lot of people would like to try some of these, but then they go, "Where do I start?" And
right,
you know, where do I look? And there's this magazine, and how do I know?
Whereas you're inviting them in and saying, here's an opportunity.
Yeah, have a
Check
little
it
taste.
out. Yeah.
That's exactly
And
perfectly
then follow
said. Yes.
up with whatever resonates for you.
Exactly. So if you want to come, they're just 10-minute mini sessions.
Right.
So it's just a taste. And if you like it, you can definitely book an appointment or go further. And if it doesn't work for you, then don't.
I think it's an idea whose time has come.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a minute left. Mas, what would you like to say in this last minute?
Well, to understand the mechanics, they can go to my podcast. It's free, Exponential Intelligence. They could understand more about, say, the science of what makes you tick, the reasons why you have the life that you have, and then how to have it all.
Great. And Debbie?
I would just like to say, come and check out the next Wellness Gala, which will be Sunday, June 3rd. And it's at the Knoll Country Club in Parsippany.
Great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for the healing treatment.
Thank you so much.
And it gives people an opportunity to see what you do. And thank you for doing the work that you do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
My name is Natasha Sherman. Thank you for joining us.